Hey, good evening. It's Friday, September 1st, and welcome to Everyday Talk 24/7. Really great to have you along tonight. Now, last night we mentioned, looking at this passage in Ephesians 4, the beginning of chapter 5, that following God, obeying God, is not just simply a matter, well, I'm not going to be angry, but I am going to be compassionate. But the reason why we do that is vital. Vital to us, to our witness for others, our credibility as Christians, and ultimately our walk with God and having a vital relationship with Him. See, Paul says here, we must be imitators of God, living as dearly loved children, and living a life of love, just as Christ loved us and gave Himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. See, that's the real root issue and righteous cause of our obedience. So the question I want to ask tonight is, why do we do good? Why do you do good? Why do I do good? Sometimes we don't know, and it's important to know. I've got 4 possible answers to why we do good. The first one, we do good out of fear. We want to avoid punishment. But you see, that's not something that is acceptable before God. That's just very self-serving. That's very selfish. I don't want any difficulty. I don't want to suffer punishment. So I'm going to do good. Well, you see, if that's what we're thinking, we could never be good in that sense. And it's very much like the parable of the soils, that first soil, which has no root, has nothing in it. If we're about doing it to avoid punishment, there's nothing there of significance. It's just the same kind of self-serving as the world, and it won't last. There's no long-term change. The second reason we might do good is to win the approval of people. We want people to like us, so I'll do the right thing. I won't be angry, I'll be kind. I'm hoping everybody will notice that I'm being kind. But you see, that may produce some quick results, people liking me, but then it wears thin. There may be a quick flourishing change, but then it wears and goes away under the pressure of the moment. That's kind of like the second soil. And that's exactly what happens. It's a little brief activity and then boom, it's gone. Because the approval of people won't carry us very far at all. The third reason that we might obey is to win the approval of God. But that's disastrous in itself, because you and I can never win the approval of God. That's what Jesus did. If we're trying to win the approval of God, this is where things like legalism come from. Self-righteousness and arrogance. I think I can actually make God like me, or I can do something to make me better than other people. So surely God will like me now. And this is very much like that third soil, where initially it looks great, but then the heat of the day comes and the pressures come. And that third soil, like that third soil, if you're obeying to win the approval of God, that will wear you down, and you will fall as well. But the fourth reason, the one we looked at in Ephesians 5, where I'm going to live this life of love because I have been loved. I'm so blown away what Christ has done for me, I can do nothing else but love and follow in His footsteps. That's like that fourth soil. And you see this in the thumbnail tonight. A root builds up and the plant is nourished. The plant grows and strengthens to the point where it takes over the entire field and reproduces itself 100-fold. A life that is given to living a life of love because we have been loved. Nothing can separate us from that. That's where the real power is, because that's when we are following the example of Christ. So listen carefully to verse 5 again, chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Don't do these things to win approval of people. Don't do it to avoid punishment. Don't do it even, perhaps worst of all, trying to win the approval of God. But be imitators of God, therefore, as dearly loved children, and live a life of love, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us, as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. Let's strive for that fourth soil, the one that reproduces, the one that's not tied to the winning approval, the one that's not tied to living in fear, where we're up and down all the time. But let's live for that reality. I want to love and follow God because I have been loved. There's no greater force on the planet than people that live that way. That's what drove the early church. That's when you see people who are really passionate about God. This is what drives them. True passion. There's no manipulation here. No keeping of rules in that sense. No self-atonement. Only a life that is lived in love because we have been loved. More coming on this. Again, give me your thoughts and feedback. I'd love to hear them. This is important. Why do you do what you do? Why do you do good? Make it about loving because you have been loved. Thank you for being here tonight, and Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching. May God richly bless you as you seek to live for His glory.